Hello, it's Paul Reichert. I'm back again. This is going to be my the 7th installment of the system of Sift. Remember, 7 systems. This is my last one. Woohoo! Really put the plow to the ground, something like that. Let's see. I'm going to give an example of what I was talking about yesterday before I get into the graph system today. I'm going to try to do this brief as possible, which might be like 5 minutes. Yesterday I was talking about the rotation and how it was dangerous, the backwards rotation. And just because something is dangerous doesn't mean it shouldn't happen. It should definitely happen. It's a good conversation starter on starting with an absolute. I don't like social justice warriors. Yesterday I stated that briefly. That was a reactionary response of me, and I didn't go into detail because that came from my constitution, my reaction of it. I just stated it as an absolute, and it's a good conversation starter, just like this conversation starter. I'm starting it as a conversation and as an analogy of what happened yesterday. When I was explaining a different point, I was kind of like jabbing social warriors when talking about something else. But now I'm using it as an example. So it's a good conversation starter. But when you have, and I probably stepped on a lot of toes, probably not too many, but okay. So let's say there's in a conversation, you have people that are talking the absolutes, in a sense, pointing the finger, oh, social justice bad, and the social justice person is like, oh, your ideals are bad, it doesn't progress the conversation. An absolute is a good starting point, but it's not a good progression in progressing the conversation. Now, some people do state absolutes in a conversation like that to shortcut the conversation, to see if your other person that you're talking to is in agreement with it or not. So if they're not, then you can veer the conversation why you stated that absolute. And if they have the patience enough and the aptitude, then you can progress the conversation all over the place. As long as you can always rewind and come back to your original line of reasoning, what you're really after at the point, at the end. Now, I harped on social justice warriors. I'm going to try to give a brief explanation why I don't like it. I don't like social justice warriors mainly because it denotes a group of people that socialize, and just because people consider by socializing that someone should be persecuted, I don't believe that just because everyone thinks a person should be persecuted doesn't mean that person should be persecuted. I believe more of actions speak louder than words and the preponderance of evidence. So, and words are not just the evidence, physical evidence. That's why I state actions speak louder than words. Now, not every time that there's not evidence in a lot of cases, unfortunately. But you gotta not take people by their word. Some words you might be saying the same thing as another person, but the definition might be different. I mean, just look at today, and people call people racist and Nazis, and the connotation of the definition of those words are like all over the place than it was like 20 years ago or 10 years ago. Just look at the word gay, right? Gay. Gay denotes, gay used to be like 20 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, I forget. Happy. Had nothing to do with homosexuality. It just meant happy. But now it means like homosexuality. So words change in their meaning. So I just want to, something to consider. Note for thought. All right, so yeah, that's why I don't like. That's why I'm kind of against social justice warriors, and because okay, I already explained why. So, and I'm open to listening to someone else's opinion, why they justify it, and their line of reasoning, and then I can progress where the things I have a problem with that I wouldn't want to see myself doing. Or I do want to see a child doing, or anyone else doing. You know, there's people have all people are learning at every single age. There are adults that are children. There are children that are still children. Let me give you an example. This is a nice little fun story. When I was a kid, I didn't know what the middle finger meant. And just one day, I was like, I don't want to point with this finger anymore. I know it's the pointer finger. Why do I use this? I'm going to use this. 1, 2, 3. Guess what happened? Little narc tattled on me. Oh, she's pointing the middle finger at me. I went in the corner. No explanation whatsoever from the teacher. She wasn't trying to teach. It was just, we don't do that. Yeah, okay. I got a little grievances that not enough communication when it comes to teaching from some teachers. Okay, so, but that's a small matter. Very easily overlooked, easily forgiven, whatever. But a great story and a good example. So, we all start at ignorance. We can be ignorant 30-year-olds. We can be ignorant 40-year-olds, 50s, 100-year-olds, especially 100-year-olds. I mean, they're losing their mind. Have you talking to 100-year-old people? Okay, sorry. So that was my fun little story, and that's my highlighting of the things to be cautious of, the backwards rotation of that circle that I talked about yesterday. Now I say danger, but doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. I mean, you got to do it for sure if you want to get somewhere. It helps shortcut things. Now, talking to a huge number of people, I mean, probably don't want to do it. You don't want to step on as many toes or fingers as possible. Okay, now the graph system, the last system. This is going to be kind of short. It's more mathematical. I've made a mathematical formula for it because I could. It denotes 3 answers that I'm going to depict here, and I call it answers because you're thinking mathematics, but they're really defining 3 objects that I'm showing that I'll be kind of circling down under the bar. Now, first off, it's going to denote the answer for the bar width, you know, what width it'll be, the bar situated, either to the right or to the left, or little left, little right, the situation. And the color, what color is chosen. Now, remember I talked about the color system yesterday, so it kind of gives the idea. The colors do have somewhat of a meaning behind it. Now, remember, this is my last system. So, like this system and last system, it's not so crucial. It's just a nice thing to think about and to develop, because people, when looking at the multiple perspectives window, which is, this whole system is based off of that idea. Now, I just got squares and two comment sections. You know, I'm not an artist. If you're looking at my pictures, it might be a little colorful, a little bit more inept, but they're definitely not works of art. So I want a visual representation so people can kind of remember. I talked about yesterday the feeling of what's happening, not the exact precision, and basing their decision based off of what color it is, where it's angled, how big it is. It's just giving an overall feeling of what everyone is kind of compiling together. Because we are visual creatures as well as psychological creatures. I mean, commenting, debating with each other, helping understand things into more detail on a person's point is all great, but it's good to have kind of like a feeling as well. I think the mental aptitude and feelings really go together. You can't really have a good outlook at life if you just take one away. You can't be too emotional. You can't be too cold-hearted. You know, there needs to be, and I don't like to say balanced because there are things that need to be unbalanced. But there needs to be some kind of synergy. That's a better word, framing. Okay, so the bar movement, where it's placed, left or right, it depends on how many votes go towards the agreed side versus the disagreed side. I already talked about voting. So if you got too much leaning one way, you kind of have an idea that, well, these people are pretty much in a bubble. Or you have the idea that everyone is like-minded and seeing a solution. So you see, I gave you two points there, meaning different things, the exact opposites. But it helps identify that group of people a little bit more. There's too many people brown-nosing the host. There's too many people watching this that are yes men. You ever saw that video? I think there's a movie, Yes Man. They're not rationally thinking. They're just reactionary in a sense that, or no, they're not necessarily reactionary. They know ahead. There's too many people together that are like-minded, and you need other people that think a little differently so they can they can present things from a different angle, because we all don't start at the same point. We all start at a different parenting. We all start a different culture, race, all different aspects of life, different parenting. Yeah. I mean, does it have to be said? So you got to be open to the other perspectives to a point. I mean, some people are just damaged, unfortunately, and they make their argument because that's how they cope with life. And you got to give this multiple perspective of a platform helps give a way to give them more of a constitution that they can build off of, instead of what other people would consider radicalness. You know, it helps heal people too. That's the point. Instead of just this reactionary responses that you get on the comment section of YouTube or Twitter. Yes, there is some debate with each other, but with my platform, there's a lot more communication with multiple people than just the people replying to someone else's comment or the host reading all his comments toward him. You know, there's more help and information being shared with each other on specific points being made. Okay. I went off tangent a little bit there. So that's where the bar movement is dependent on the votes. The vote, how many votes are on the agreed side or the disagreed side. Pretty basic. Then we have the bar width. Now this one. So, I mean, it's a picture. It can only go so big, right? I mean, but you need to make it where the content creators and the people associating with that content creator is seeing a progression. So it is predicated off of a number of people that associate with that host of that content that's context creation. So say you got 100 people. Every one person, boom, the bar goes higher. 2 people, boom, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 100. All right, 100's max, and it kind of increments like every increments a little bit. So, but 100's max for the 100 section. But if you have 1,000 people, no, sorry, you have 1,000 people watching you, then it increments to 1,000. So after 100, boom, goes max, and you hit 101, boom, that bar goes right back to small again, because you progressed into a category of the amount of people that you just got such a big following that you'll see how big where the vote is. So the bar will go big, small, depending on the follower base. So the increments is 100 and increment size to 1. Then it is to, once it passed 100, it goes to 1,000 and it increments by 10. So the size of the bar will increment to the next size by tens. 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, till it goes past 1,000. Once it goes past 1,000, boom, the bar goes small again. Then the goal is 10,000, being the max bar, and it's increments of 100. So each 100, boom, goes bigger, 100, till it goes to so it's 10,000, so it's 1,000,000. Then it goes to 1,000,000. It's all dependent on your following. So you still get that feeling, and you still get that overall feeling, but it resets depending on the size of your following, the size of the interaction of that content on that. I like that because, again, it kind of shows you an idea of people's interaction and size. I will put some kind of identification per 100,000, 10,000, 100,000, million. And so, I mean, it goes on and on. But have like an identifying aspect to it, what level it's on. I don't like to put numbers. Like, when people are voting on other comments, there's not going to be how many people have voted or how many likes or dislikes, like you see in YouTube. There's none of that. It's all kind of, it's not shown to you in numbers. But it's shown to you visually. So it's so, like, for example, when you vote upon like a comment, you don't see that, oh, this is the #1 comment. Therefore, if everyone's voting on it, I'm going to vote on it. No, remember, I want to perpetuate thinking, thought. So you got to read the stuff. And it's like, okay, I most accurately want to vote on this. That kind of matches my ideology. That's a lot of things I find a problem with a lot of YouTube. People have a lemming-like mentality. Oh, he's going over there. Let's go over there. Come on, everyone does it. A lemming, by the way, it's part of a game. That never mind. So yeah, that's how the bar width shows. Okay, then we have the bar color. Now I have the formula on how I do this, but I don't want to explain the formula. I'll show the formula down below. I'll like circle it and whatnot. But I've made a drawing of a bar graph. Just think of it like the times tables, right? To get your answer, you use the times tables. Yeah, and the color table, called the color table, is kind of the same thing. You just see, okay, the amount of votes on agreed. See, you have the agreed side on top, and then you have the disagreed on the left side, just like a times table. And you could, okay, this many people agreed, this many people disagreed, and you go to it. Cha-ching! And that's the color it's going to be. Because I already did the math for you when calculating this times table. Because there's no way I was going to explain math to you guys. So, let's see. Now, with the times tables, this is going to be a little unique. You know, times tables, you got a table, right? Well, with my color table, it starts at 1 to 100. And then 1 to 100. But it's not just 1 to 100. So say you have 20 disagreement votes, but you have 200 agreement votes. Okay, so it's still on the table. So it's going to be like this. It's going to be 100 versus infinite. Boom, it just keeps going for the color graph. But now if the agreement side goes to 100 and the disagreement side goes to 100, boom, it resets to the beginning of the color graph. So, and it's in increments of 100. So it reuses the graph over and over. I don't know if I'm explaining this that well here. I show the color graph below, so you'll maybe it'll click. But yeah, you got infinite on one side and got infinite on the other side. But it's only infinite if one side is in between 100. Once it passes 100 and it goes to 200, it resets it. Is that how I did it? Boy. There's two ways I did it. I'm trying to remember all this information, by the way, because I did this a year ago, coming up with all this stuff, and I've just kind of been sitting on it. It's two ways to do it. I did it either by 100 increments and resetting it, or I did it by 100 to 1,000 to 10,000. Now, I'm probably confusing the bar width sizes. So yeah, I think I just did it by 100 increments. So if you got 100 on the agreements and 100 disagreements, boom, it resets as if you have one agreement and one disagreement. But if you have too much agreements and barely any disagreements, it will go on for infinite. It'll go on to the purple. Remember, these colors kind of give you a feeling of things. So if you're going all the way down to a purple, like purpose, I mean, the group of people, like I kind of explained a little while ago, about the people are very like-minded, or they're too much in a bubble. You know, both can be good things. I'm not saying they're bad things. And that's why this graph system, the color system and the graph system, is a feeling. It's depicting a feeling of what you're getting from these people and where they're at. I mean, if you're getting a colorful graph, you're getting a lot of good communication, or a lot of bad well, not a lot of bad communication. You get a lot of different perspectives that are clashing together, which isn't a bad thing, because that's when you actually start working things out. You know, start seeing problems, start building within yourselves what you consider to be right or wrong. More on point, not enough substance. All right, I think that's it for this video. I plan to put this on Indiegogo. I think I'll have a Patreon as well. I'm gonna have my Patreon link and my Indiegogo link down below in the description, and ways to contact me. Well, I'll see if I can progress this into something. I think on Indiegogo, I'm just going to make another video just saying, okay, maybe get financed enough to hire people to explain more clearly to people in a shorter film-like example for people to understand what I'm trying to depict. I mean, this video with all my other videos is close to 3 to 4 hours long. I don't expect a lot of people to watch this stuff. But if you have the same like-minded goal that I'm after, if you see what I'm after, and you really want to fix things, you know, I came up with this because I saw problems of communication on platforms. The discussion not really going anywhere, but people making money off of just saying this is a problem, but I don't hear any solutions, or very few from. And so this is where I want to make my spiel. You know, if you guys can support me, $1, whatever, that'd be great. That'd be awesome. Like I said, I want to prove to you guys in making better videos first before putting the money towards making the software, because I want you to see that I am speaking. I'm proving to you that where your money is going, it's going to what I say it's going to. All right. Thank you. You guys have a good day.